What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for December 29th, 2023. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Friday edition of the podcast, the last Friday of 2023 as we're gearing up for the new year. Hopefully, you're getting all of your New Year's resolutions in order. I have a few that I plan on doing, and I learned, and I don't know if anybody else has ever run into this problem, and I read this somewhere. We always keep a big poster board of ours for the family. And I noticed that some of them I did not hit. And it's because you don't give specifics. Like lose weight. Okay, great. But if you need that specific goal that you can actually see and kind of put in front of you. So I will be putting a goal in front of my weight loss number this year. I did say grow the podcast. I think we've been successful with that. But I do want to be more specific about how I want to grow it. Getting there slowly but surely. Been doing some things with the Philly Sports Hall of Fame, which is nice, but want to start growing that. But again, this is kind of a side rant and not almost like a Tuesday motivational thing, but key to keeping your New Year's resolution is setting a specific goal. And that's where I failed in some of mine because there's no way to measure it. So just little food for thought here on a Friday. But let's start with the question of the day recap. I asked yesterday, is Eric Allen a Hall of Famer? Not surprisingly, 90% of you said yes, Eric Allen is a Hall of Famer. The few people that said no looked at his numbers. But again, I feel his numbers are misleading. His numbers are better than some of the guys in the Hall of Fame now, Rondé Barber. But he was one of the first true shutdown corners. You don't think of Rondé Barber as a shutdown corner. He played in the same era as Dion and Rod Woodson, so his numbers might not be. Eric Allen was a playmaker to a certain point, but he was a shutdown corner. People avoided him. So I think that's why the numbers somewhat are misleading. But thanks, as always, for participating in the question of the day. We will have another one later on today, but that number is 267-495-8531. Doesn't have to be question of the day. Call, you want to rant. I mean, I know it's Festivus is over, but if you want to unleash and air your grievances on the Eagles, the Sixers, Flyers, Phillies, whoever, anything from the Philly sports year this year, call, get it out. Let's talk about it. 267-495-8531. Get you through on the voice and text line. All right, a couple quick programming notes. I told you new Back to the Future this week. Still trying to align what that's going to look like in the new year. But we're doing sort of the best of, and rather than me just reposting things, have you go back into the archives. In honor of Eric Allen being named a finalist for the Hall of Fame, go back to August 3rd of last year. I did an episode on the Hall of Fame candidacies of Randall Cunningham and Donovan McNabb. Also, if you want somewhere in there, I forget the exact date, I did one on the Hall of Fame candidacies of Dick Allen and Jimmy Rollins as well, which the Jimmy Rollins one is really getting traction now because a lot of people are posting their ballots. And since Chase Utley is now eligible to be on the Hall of Fame ballot, a lot of people are voting Chase and Jimmy in at the same time, so there is some traction there. I don't know if Chase Utley is a Hall of Famer, though. Jimmy Rollins has a much better case, in my opinion. So go check that out. Randall and Donovan, August 3rd of last year. And if you scroll through the archives, there is one on Dick Allen and Jimmy Rollins. Also, January, it's a new beginning. We talked a little bit about the New Year's resolutions. The special thing we're doing in January, we're going to be looking at free agents who came to Philly and had a new beginning and somehow, in some way, rejuvenated their careers. And that's for all four of the sports. So stay tuned for that. Free agents who had new beginnings in Philadelphia. Because usually the media would have you think about it the other way. Like we run people out of town. But these are people that came into town and either jump-started or rejuvenated their career in some way. So stay tuned for that starting Monday. All right, good win for the Flyers last night out in Vancouver. Vancouver is one of the best teams in the West, and the fact that the Flyers essentially just went out there and dominated is a good thing. John Tortorella hasn't played well. He won his 723rd win of all time. That moved him into 10th place on the all-time coaching list. Ironically enough, he passed another former Flyers coach, Alan Vigneault, who just couldn't get it done here. And then as I was looking through the list of this, there's three others. There's Ken Hitchcock, Laviolette, and I forget the other one that's on there. But the Flyers, the third one would be John Tortorella. So there's three Flyers coaches that are in the top 10 all time in wins, but yet we just have those two Stanley Cups. And it just goes to show just how close the Flyers were during that stretch from like the 90s to the early 2000s, where they were just coach after coach after coach. They had good coaching, they just couldn't get it done otherwise. So congratulations to John Tortorella for that. They are in action tonight in Seattle against the Kraken. Meanwhile, the Sixers are out in Houston. Finally, apparently they had some engine trouble and had to delay their flight, but they are there. Joe will not be playing. So it should be a good challenge. I want to see how they come out. It's one thing to get your first win without Joe. Let me see if you can get the second win against a young, scrappy Rockets team. Emi Udoka has them playing very well, so I want to see how they respond to that. They're going to probably need all of that depth because Houston just likes to run. And I want to see Maxey get off to a good start and not get into foul trouble and really just pick up where he left off in the second half of the game the other night in Orlando. So we'll be watching that. I'm excited to see how they do. Again, I think all of this is good. It's not good that Joe's injured, but like I said, it gives these guys the experience with the one. So I want to see them come out and play well. And Tyrese, I'm looking at you. And if you want to look at Tyrese Maxey, go to phillygoat.com. They have a ton of Tyrese Maxey shirts. Maximus is one of my favorites. So go to Philly Goat. Check them out. They have you covered for all of your sports apparel need for Philly. Even if you're not a Philly sports fan, I know some of you are in the area. You listen because you follow the Philly sports, but you're fans of other teams. They have some other things that are pretty cool. If you like Rocky, they have Rocky stuff. They have Philly neighborhood stuff, just Philly-centric stuff. Go check out phillygoat.com. Hoodies, hats, T-shirts, whatever you need. Go check them out, phillygoat.com. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off of your order. You want to help me grow this podcast, go buy some T-shirts, use that promo code. We got some big things coming up in the new year, so stay tuned for that as well. But go to phillygoat.com, use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off of your order. All right, Eagles news. Looks like Landon Dickerson is on track to play, which is good. Avonte Maddox is trending in that direction. They have until 4 p.m. Saturday to, take his call, however it works, but like his practice window, basically take him off of IR or IL, whatever they call it now, and go. So today is going to be really, really telling as far as who's going to play, who's not. Cunningham and Morrow were both limited. Again, Morrow seems more likely to play than Cunningham, but both are in the running, and today's practice is going to tell us a lot. So tomorrow morning, we'll have a good sense on who's playing, who's not. I do think that with Darius Slay out, the fact that I saw a stat, and I know it was just the Giants' last drive when they were trying to come back, but Keely Ringo and Eli Ricks are doing a phenomenal job filling in right now, and they're continuing to impress me, and I like the direction of where this is heading. And if you remember way back in the you want to talk about archives of Back to the Future, we did the Eagles season preview, and one of the things I said was they could be just as good but not look it, especially on the defensive end. Now, the defense has some holes and some issues and things like that, don't get me wrong, but I think they have a solid foundation with some of these rookies moving forward. So even if they were to take a step back, the future is still bright, and obviously the way the season played out, nobody foresaw what actually has transpired. But something to keep in mind that they have some young players in place, and the fact that Eli Ricks and Keely Ringo are getting some run with Bradbury is who he is at this point, but they're getting some run with the starters, and that's great experience. So I'm very excited to do that. Another thing I saw, speaking of the future is bright, everybody's talking how Jalen Carter's production is down. He's hitting the rookie wall and things like that. And then I took a look at some of, I forget who it was, but like on Twitter, one of the Eagles websites, like the podcast that happened, they were talking and looking at it, and he's getting double and triple teamed a lot. So it's not really his production, which that then goes back to what I had said previously too. They need to get a better pass rush. If they're double teaming Jalen Hurts or Jalen Carter, somebody needs to be open. Whether that's Hassan Reddick, Sweat, somebody. Like, they need to figure that out. But so I don't know if it's so much he's hitting the rookie wall as much as he's getting double and triple team. I mean, I don't know. Like, that's something I want to keep my eye on again on Sunday, especially because they should be able to do well against the Cardinals. They need to contain Kyler Murray, but they should be able to dominate this team. Offensively, I want to see them run the ball. And that's the big story of Brian Johnson says, I don't listen, this, that, and the other. But the Cardinals have the worst rushing defense in the league, almost giving up 5 yards a carry. You better be running the ball. I want to see Swift. I want to see Gainwell. Give Boston Scott some runs. Like, I want to see 300 rushing yards on Sunday. You show me 300 rushing yards, you just impose your will and then go deep a couple times. Boom. It's lined right up for you. I will break more of this down on Sunday before the game. But again, I mean, they better run the damn ball against the Cardinals defense, who's the worst in the league, giving up almost 5 yards a carry. I want to see DeAndre Swift. Thank God I'm not playing against him in fantasy. They can win the division if they win and Dallas loses. But Dallas has a tough game against Detroit, so it is at home. Dallas plays better, obviously, at home than they do on the road. But I'm anxious. I'm looking forward to that game. That game is tomorrow, so we'll know sort of where we stand going into it. But I'm really looking forward to watching that game. Not only because it's going to be a good game, but lots of Cowboys and Lions on my fantasy teams, as well as the two fantasy teams I'm playing in the Super Bowl. So it's a very, very important game for me to watch. We'll be going out to dinner with some family. Hopefully the place has a TV. So if you're in my family, let's make sure that place has a TV and tell them to have the Dallas-Detroit game on. Anyway, check out the Clashing Conferences too. They released a new episode yesterday. Always good, as just these guys are great. So go give them a listen. The Clashing Conferences podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. And again, make sure this place has a TV tomorrow. All right, sticking with the Eagles. We're going to go back to 2015. And on this day, December 29th, 2015, the Eagles may have won Super Bowl 52. With one game left in the season, the Eagles fired Chip Kelly, who went 26-21 in his 3 seasons. He did win the one NFC East title, the heartbreaking playoff loss. But I will argue that firing Chip Kelly started a series of moves to undo Chip Kelly's moves that led to them getting Wentz and ultimately the Super Bowl. So if you think about it, Chip was good when he was the coach. They went 10-6 both years as head coach when he didn't really have any say in the personnel. As soon as they gave him the personnel, he completely screwed it all up by getting rid of LaShawn McCoy, letting Jeremy Maclin walk. Deshaun Jackson was the year before, I think. So Chip Kelly, the coach, was different than Chip Kelly, the GM. But I will argue that on this day, it set off a chain of events over the next couple years that would lead the Eagles to the Super Bowl. And if you want more on that, back in 2022, I did a Back to the Future in August of 2022, I believe it was, on Chip Kelly, and how without Chip, I don't know if we win the Super Bowl. And that is our question of the day. If Chip Kelly did not come in and do what he did, yeah, I think that's right. Oh, I don't know. I'm not feeling too well today, so grammar police missed me today. But would the Eagles have won the Super Bowl if it wasn't for Chip Kelly? Excuse me. That's your question of the day. Get your opinion out there. Let me know what you think. 267-495-8531. 267-495-8531. Do the Eagles win the Super Bowl with Chip Kelly? Because if you think about it, were they going to win with Macklin, McCoy, Deshaun Jackson, and Nick Foles as quarterback? Essentially is the question I'm asking. If he did not get rid of those four guys or let in some way, shape, or fashion, would the Eagles have won the Super Bowl? I'm telling you, I don't necessarily think they did it the way they were constructed. And again, you heard Jason Kelce come in on his Super Bowl speech and say how he came out of the broom closet a different man. So let me know your thoughts on that. 267-495-8531. Do the Eagles win the Super Bowl if it wasn't for the Chip Kelly era? Let me know what you think. I know that's a hot take for a Friday, but it's worth asking because of the series of events then that unfolded of trying to undo all of those moves that Chip Kelly did. Let me know what you think about that. All right. Finally, we'll finish up with today's top Philly sports moment of 2023. As we continue, again, these are in no order. And Game 3 of the NLDS, the Phillies and the Braves both split Game 1 and 2 down in Atlanta. Phillies actually blew a 4-0 lead in Game 2, if you remember. And came home to Citizens Bank Park. And remember, everybody was all worked up because of them blowing that lead. And, oh no, we're in trouble. But the Phillies came out, blew that game open with a 6-run third inning. Castellanos hit a home run, then Bryce Harper hit a 3-run homer, and then JT hit the 2-run double. Then Harper followed it up with another homer in the 5th. Trey Turner got into the act. Castellanos hit another one. Brandon Marsh hit one. The 6 home runs ended up tying a Major League Baseball postseason record for home runs in a game. Phillies would win. I didn't even write the score down. I believe it was 10-2 they won that game. And then they would go on and win the next night to win the series before ultimately losing in 7 games to the Diamondbacks. But one of our top moments from the Phillies, there's a couple of them on this list, was Game 3 of the NLDS when the offense just exploded. I wish they would have saved some of those home runs for later in the Arizona series, but what can you do? So our Philly top sports moment of the year for today is Game 3 of the NLDS. All right. Be sure to let me know what you think about Chip Kelly. Do we win the Super Bowl without his bonehead moves? 267-495-8531. Call or text. Let me know what you're thinking. Give me your thoughts on anything right now. If it's the end of the year, you got to cleanse everything. People do detox cleanses at the beginning of the year. Listen, let's do it now. Get anything off your chest you need about the state of Philly sports from the 2023. Let me know your thoughts. On this day, though, back in 2015, the Eagles fired Chip Kelly, starting a chain of events that would ultimately lead them to winning the Super Bowl in 2017. But let me know what you're thinking about that. Do they win it without Chip Kelly? Am I giving him too much credit, too much power? Let me know. That's fine. I could be crazy. Get it all out. Let's cleanse and start the new year fresh. Sixers with a big game tonight in Houston. Flyers out in Seattle. We'll have more on the Eagles injury news tomorrow after the injury reports from practice today come out. Be sure to check out the latest, or I shouldn't say the latest, but go back and check out the archives of Back to the Future. There's a couple Hall of Fame episodes for Jimmy Rollins and Dick Allen, as well as Randall and Donovan. Check out the Chip Kelly one from 2022. Like and subscribe. Let's spread the word. Let's grow this thing in the new year. I'm Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Friday. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History, and until next time, I'll see you when I see you.